Welcome to Obstacle Running Adventures,
the podcast that fuels your passion for obstacle course racing,
running, and all things adventurous.
Whether you're a seasoned pro or a weekend warrior,
we've got news updates as well as interviews with athletes
and other key members of our athletic community.
As a weekly show since 2017, we have covered everything from
championship and virtual races
to fundraising events and FKTs. And now, here are your hosts,
Michael Stefano and Caitlin Ritter.
Standing on the corner, lost all my clothes.
Hey guys, it's Caitlin.
And Mike.
And Mike, how was your weekend?
Pretty good. We just got back from New Jersey, where we spent some time with the in-laws, your parents, and late Christmas. It was a good time.
Did you get any OCR-related gifts?
Yes, actually I did. I got a pair of Gooder sunglasses that are like Frosted Flake.
Yes.
And it's Tony the Tiger, and they're great.
But why do you think she bought them for you?
Oh, because they're orange and black, my favorite colors.
Yes.
So good.
So good.
Let's give a shout out to our sponsors.
Shout out Mudgear, use code ADVENTURE for 15% off your next Mudgear purchase. And Caterpie, use code OCRReport20 for 20% off your next Caterpie purchase.
Perfect. Let's shout out the $5+ Patreon supporters.
Jason Dupree, Samantha Thompson, Bradley Keel, Charlotte Engelman, Aaron Grindstaff, Laura and Stephen Ritter, Hank and Arlene Stefano, Cheryl Miller, Jessica Johnson, Christopher Hoover, Kevin Gregory Jr., Evan Irick, Brent George, Logan Nagel, Asa Cunnington, Seth Renderknecht, and Steve Bacon.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for the support. We greatly appreciate it. And to the OCR Report for being a great home for us on the internet.
And to Will Hicks,
the Podfather. Check it out over at theocrreport.com. They're planning to do some more consistent meeting calls. They said weekly, which I think is a bit much, but I'd be very happy with monthly or quarterly.
Yeah. Shout out to our sponsored athletes, Javier Escobar, Kelly Sullivan, Ryan Brizolara. You can train with him at Ryna, RYNA running.com. Joshua Reed, who is making a comeback from an injury. And Kevin Gregory, who his gym Underdog Fitness is hosting the first official DECA Atlas event on February 23rd.
Yeah, and back to Kelly Sullivan real quick too. She was the first one I thought of when I'm like, oh, these sunglasses are amazing. I bet Kelly would like them. And she did. Poll results. So I posted, have you ever gone to Disney World/Land?
76% of people said yes, and 24% of people said no.
Oh, wow. We must have had a lot of votes if it was 76%.
Yeah, we did.
Very cool. Meme of the week, we're going to skip. We're going to head on right over to quick news, starting with, and this is a lot, the European Spartan Pro Team. So this is Spartan Europe account. So some of them have all the names in the description, and some of them do not, which is tricky.
Okay, starting with Italy national team, Claudia Bongiovanni, Stefano Colombio, Camilla Di Poli, Rigotar Kija, Manuel Mercani, Giulio Noli, Matteo Palizia, Luca
Pascolderung, he's the one I reached out to.
Andrea Rivera, Antonio Gulli Ruggiero, Erica Cilia.
And just keep in mind that Caitlin is really bad at pronouncing names, and I'm pretty bad too, but Caitlin usually has the job of pronouncing these ones. Moving on to Germany.
I thought I did a great job with that.
Yeah, there was some extra letters added.
Team Germany. Christian Rodinger, Christian Crosses, Helena Schroeder, Lena Weller, Manuel Hill, Matteo Gendre, Matthias Graytrue, Niels Krushever, Sarah Dress.
Now, Switzerland.
Sven Lusty, Amanda Schneider, Manuel Defoe, Anton Freeman, Jenka Popova, Hansali Frey, and now on to France. Chloe Colport, Jonathan Garcia, Ines Trevado Motet, Stephanie Olin, Leslie Lejeune, Jeremiah Gauche, Angelique Chenayo, Tybalt Jean, Camille Salot, Julien Vierat, David Labrosi, Gregory Basilico,
Next up is Austria.
Stefan Hilber, Daniel Bolchiger, Patrick Pizzel, Marco Hofstrada, Michael Sayer, Renatu Kuzek, Renee Goning.
And
Now into the Netherlands. Frank Ostrom, Alec Blocklands, Queenie Van Nojun, Jesse De Hare, Stein Legrand,
Nice.
Eva Vani. Now on to the UK. Libby Joyce, Jason Bronick, Jack Carpenter, Luke de Benix, Frederica de Caria, Connor Wickens, Reese Stainham Quality, Andrea Berquez, Fagel Keeney, Morgan Maxwell,
Who was a guest on last episode.
Josie Lloyd, Rachel Decker.
And apologies for butchering those names. We have a few more to butcher because we're going to get to some podiums, starting with the Metal Games team podiums. I'll take a few of these so Caitlin can take a break. So in third place was Metal Team 2M for the men. Jones, Van Tonder, Al-Wahal, and Alaway. Second place was Team UAE with Periglian, Hamadi, Al-Nami, and Al-Hassani. And the first place team for the men was Metal Team 1M, Atkins, Kofed, Blokeland, and Al-Mahmid. And now for the ladies, and second place was Where's the Finish Line, with no teammates listed. And first place was Metal Team F with Miracle, Petrova, Van E, and Shetinow. Now we got some Spartan podiums.
For the SoCal Beast, for the men's elite, in third place, Orlando Lopez. In second place, Ethan Pupst and Daniel Sorensen. And for the women, in third place, Noelle Morrow. In second place, Rachel Munez. And in first place, Chloe McKillen.
Yep. And next up we have the Spartan Dubai Beast.
For the men, in third place, Sahari Saladudkin. In second place, Sergei Gritsak. And in first place, Jan Blatter. And for the women, in third place, Claudia Bongiovanni. In second place, Ulrike Everson. And in first place, Svedlenta Filipovic.
Not bad. And then closing out with the Spartan Val Morel Super Podiums.
In France, for the men, in third place, Charlie Ellermy. In second place, Tilbal Jean. And that's not how you say it.
I think it's Jean.
No, how do you say the first?
Tybalt Jean.
And in first place, Jeremy Gauchette. And for the women, in third place, Mallory Cabode. In second place, Perini Abadi. And in first place... What?
She's a baddie.
And in first place, Katrine Leverast.
Perfect. Secret link, there's 5 of them down below, but let's get to what this episode is all about.
What's it all about, Mike?
So, Sarah Hetzel took on the Dopey Challenge, which is completing all of the Walt Disney World Marathon weekend events. So there's the 5K on Thursday, followed by the 10K on Friday, half marathon on Saturday, and the marathon on Sunday. So we talk a little bit about her running background, her Disney favorites, how long she has been wanting to do this multi-day event, which the answer surprised me, and how the event went itself, as well as some advice for people that are thinking about taking on the challenge like myself. So let's get to the interview with Sarah. We'll start off with your name and where you're from.
Sure. I am Sarah Hetzel. I am in Malden, South Carolina. And yeah, that's me.
And what's your background in running? I know we've had you on the show at least once before when we saw you at OCRWC years ago. But what's your background in running?
Yeah, I love to run. It's my favorite thing on the planet. I wouldn't call myself like an expert on it or anything, but I started running when I was in the 9th grade. I'm just doing cross country and track at my high school. I ran for 2 years in college. Didn't work out, and that's okay. But then I had a friend. I was working out at my gym, and a friend of mine, Janet Gubser, I don't know if you know her, but she went up to me. She's like, "Have you heard of this Spartan race thing before?" And I was like, "No, but it sounds stupid." And so I signed up that day. And with that, I did OCR for a couple years. I'm taking a break from it right now because I don't know. didn't feel like doing it. But I've just, the last couple years, I spent kind of focusing on the marathon distance. But yeah, we just did Dopey, me and my friend Hannah. And Dopey is interesting because I first heard about it when I was in high school doing cross country. And I'd always said, I'm never going to run a marathon. And then somebody was like, have you ever heard about this Dopey challenge thing? And I said, just kidding. If I ever run a marathon, it's going to be that one. And so, 10, 15, whatever years later, I finally did it. So woohoo, that's me.
Awesome. So yeah, that's definitely why. And I think I've done an episode on the Dopey Challenge like years ago too, but it's something that's always piqued my curiosity. I like the ultra endurance aspect of like, all right, one day you do this and then another day this, and we'll get all into that in a bit. But you've been wanting to do this event for that long. That's
yeah. I have. And to be honest, I mean, if you love those things, I think you would love it too, Mike. It was so much fun. I just had to blast. I'm so excited to talk about it.
Yeah, perfect. So, and like you said, I saw that you did it with Hannah. Was it Franciosa? Is that her?
Franciosa, yes.
Yes. I think Caitlin interviewed her a while ago too. So it was a surprise because I knew you were going to be doing this. And so I'm like, I'll put that on like a potential episode for like early on in the year. And then I'm like, oh, I know Hannah too. So that's pretty cool. Were you planning to do it together from the start, or how did that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love the Franciosas so much. They are like the perfect friends. They're just amazing people. And actually I met them at a Charlotte Spartan race. I don't even know how many years ago. And I was running on a local trail called the Swamp Rabbit in my town. And I was running one way and they were running the other. And I saw them. I was like, hey, I know you. And they were like, we know you. And we've been like two peas in a pod ever since. They're just the best people. And, the thing with Hannah too, in particular, she is like the queen of endurance. Like, I think so highly of her because she's so good at endurance stuff because she really works so hard. And so I was kind of really excited when I first met her because I was like, oh, I know I can rope her into this.
Yeah.
And so actually, and I'm so grateful because Hannah and Jared are those people that like, they're down for whatever as long as it's a good time. They're so amazing. And so actually, getting into the Dopey Challenge is such a pain. And Hannah and I tried to get in last year for 2024, and we ended up not getting in. And this year it was a whole mess, and she ended up having to sign both of us up because she got in and I didn't. So we had always planned on doing it together, and I'm very glad that we did because I don't think I could have done it without her, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean that's a perfect segue because I did a little bit of research, and it looks like it's not a Taylor Swift concert, but they sell out very quickly.
Oh, it's insane. It's the hardest part of the event, honestly. It's getting there.
It says that the Dopey sells out first, followed by like the 5K, then the 10K, and then the half, the full, and the Goofy Challenge. I was a little confused. Do you know what the Goofy Challenge is?
Yes, actually. And it was interesting too, because this year the Goofy Challenge actually sold out first, and that thing sold out in like under 5 minutes. It was bonkers. But Goofy's is a race and a half. So it's when you do the half marathon and the full marathon.
Okay.
This year it was the 20th anniversary of the Goofy Challenge. So it sold out like crazy fast.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So what is that like? Just you're sitting at the computer, you're waiting for like the minute to clock over, and you're just like refreshing the link.
Oh yeah, it's absolute madness. This year I actually, so like we talked about, I'm a teacher, and so I actually put in. This is going to sound just bananas. I put in a half day because I was like, we are getting into this event this year. I put in for a half day. I ended up coming in and then just having my sub cover for me for about the 20 minutes leading up to it. So I logged on and was ready to register. It's like Taylor Swift, like you said, like 15 minutes before it opened. And you're just, refreshing your screen, waiting for something to happen. And Hannah had her stuff going on. So I had her texting me while we're doing this. I had two computers in front of me, doing both of them, trying to get both of them in. And even with all of that and getting in being on the computer like 15 minutes early, I still didn't get in. And it's so, and I don't think there's any like rhyme or reason to it because I think I was on my computer before Hannah was. And she got in and I didn't, even though I had two computers up. And it's kind of heartbreaking because, there's people people out there that just really want to do it and they can't, and nobody really knows why other than it's crazy.
On one hand, I'm like, there must be a better way. On the other hand, why would Disney care? They're still making the same amount of money.
Exactly.
That's frustrating to me too. Do you know if, I guess going back to Taylor Swift, do you know if there's like a scalping market to this too? Because you said Hannah was able to buy your ticket as well. Do they limit the amount of tickets that you can buy at a time?
That's a great question. She logged in and then I was still having trouble and she's like, okay, well, it's letting me back in. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. So it wasn't even like she was able to sign us both up at the same time. She had to go in, sign herself up, and then turn around and sign me up. So I have no idea. I assume not, which is just, and even I was talking to one person on the bus back from one of the events, and she was talking about going with her family and said, yeah, there's 15 of us that try to get in, and this year only 6 of us did. And so I don't know. I know it is like you're like sweating trying to just log into running this race so that you can take a picture with Mickey Mouse. It's ridiculous, but it's so fun. I mean, it's worth it.
And I guess it's important too. When do the tickets go on sale too? Because this is a lot to train for. It's not, as you said, it's not just a marathon, which a marathon is already a lot. When do the tickets go on sale? When is this event?
So Dopey was, of course, January 8th through the 12th. The registration day was April 9th of this past year.
Okay.
So in one hand, it's like, wow, this is so crazy far in advance. But it's kind of good because, one, I mean, it gives us time to buy our hotel and things like that. But then also, too, like you said, the 5K sells out. So if somebody ever was like, I want to go and do this 5K. Oh, wait. 5K sold out, but I can get into the 10K. It gives them enough time to train. And so that's kind of good that it's so early.
That's a good point. So before we get into the event itself, I need to make sure that you're a true Disney fan. What are the best what are the best 3 Disney movies to you?
Oh, goodness. That is a very tough question. Because it really depends on the day. I love the OG Snow White. She's a mess, but she's the original, so you gotta love her. Growing up, we used to watch the Aristocats a lot.
Oh yeah,
and
controversial now, but yes.
Yeah, I went back and watched it recently, and I was like, oh my, like I don't know how they got away with that, but I think because we watched it so much as a kid, I have a part in my heart for the Aristocats.
I remember having that on VHS. Yeah,
and then I mean, you can't go wrong with Phil Collins. Got to go with Tarzan. Got to put him in there.
Yeah. Okay, that's solid. And then your top 3 favorite Disney characters.
Donald Duck is number 1. I love Donald. Ooh, that's a good question. We'll go Snow White again. And oh goodness, I feel like no matter who I say next, I'm gonna later think like, oh, I should have said this person. But we'll go with Mickey.
Okay, there you go. And then top 3 Disney songs, because Disney is nothing without their music as well.
So I do this thing. Maybe I shouldn't say this while I'm being recorded, but sometimes when I'm running in zone 2, I'll sing songs out loud to keep my heart rate low. And 2 of them that I sing are "Let's Get Down to Business" for Mulan.
Yes.
And "I Can Go the Distance."
Yes.
So that's an easy 1 and 2. And I guess number 3 would have to be, oh goodness, we'll go with Phil Collins. Anything on the Tarzan soundtrack. It's a banger,
Those are the correct answers. Absolutely. Love Mulan. Refuse to watch because I heard that there's like a sequel to Mulan, and I'm not. I know it doesn't really ruin the original, but at the same time, I just don't need to. I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Perfect answers. Let's talk about the logistics of this event. So for people that are unaware, I guess start from the beginning. Like, what exactly is the Dopey Challenge?
Yes, so the Dopey Challenge, it is 4 days of running on the road races at Walt Disney World in Florida. And day 1, you run a 5K. Day 2, you run a 10K. Day 3, you run a half marathon. And day 4, you run a full. So it is 48.6 overall across 4 days.
Love it. And so this takes place like in the parking lot. Like, where is the race done?
Yeah, it kind of depends on which distance you're doing. So with the 5K, I thought they did a really, really great job keeping it in the parks. It was mostly through Epcot. All of the races start and finish in Epcot, which is just one of the parks for the listeners who are not as into Disney.
Or with the big golf ball in the middle.
Yeah, yes, with the big golf ball. So you start kind of near the golf ball, and then we ran through the World Showcase, which is just another part of Epcot. That was the 5K. For the 10K, we stopped in Epcot again. Through the World Showcase, we went through Disney's Boardwalk, which actually I didn't know was a thing, but I think it's one of their like little pond-side resorts. And so we ran over some wooded bridges. That was really, really nice. It kind of had this like New Orleans, like classic feel to it. No, it was really cool. The half marathon, they go through both Epcot and the Magic Kingdom. So one thing though, for listeners who don't know, Disney World has several different parks and it's so big, it has its own zip code. And unfortunately, going from one park to the other means you do have to run a lot on the highways. And so it took us through some back highway kind of roads to get from Epcot to, Magic Kingdom. And when you're in Magic Kingdom, you're running towards the castle. It's magical, amazing. But then you end up back on the highway. So some of those, it's a kind of good to know that ahead of time, because if you think you're running through the parks the whole time, you're just not. Right. And I think some people get really disappointed about that. But what they do, if you're not in the park, that's usually where the character stops are. So if you're not in the parks, when you're running on kind of lack of better words, the like boring parts of the track, then there's, you can look to your side and you're like, oh, look, there's Ariel. And you can just pull over and get a picture with her and get back on your way to running. So there were a good number of character stops with that in the half. And then, of course, the full, they really brought out all the stops with the full. We went through all 4 parks, actually. We started in Epcot, made our way to Magic Kingdom, I think we went through Animal Kingdom, and then they had us kind of run a lap around the Typhoon Lagoon parking lot. And then we kind of crossed behind Hollywood Studios and ran down their main street and then got back to Epcot. Oh, wow. So that one was a lot. But I felt like with that, because there were so many stops and it's the marathon, everybody, you got to get hyped for a marathon. Yeah. There were so many character stops there. And it was the marathon I thought was the best day, even though, of course, it's the day you're spending the most time on the highway. Yeah.
It's funny too, because I've done ultra marathons. I've done a couple marathons, but never on the roads. So I think something like a Disney marathon where it's like throwing all these distractions at you would be fantastic, because the amount of wear and tear on the pavement to me sounds miserable for my knees.
Oh yeah.
But going back to logistics too, like how early do these races start? Because Disney's still open like during the day too, right?
Yes. So their goal, they want everybody to be off of the course, ideally by opening time. Mm-hmm. So the 5K, 10K, and half all started at 5 o'clock in the morning. That's the start time. Mm-hmm. And then the marathon start time was 4:30 in the morning.
Damn.
Yeah. It makes for some early mornings, but it's also kind of nice too, because then you get it over with. And we went to the parks afterwards. So that was super fun.
Yeah. What was the ease of like getting to the start line? Because I'm sure like there's a whole lot of people trying to get to these events. Is it like a mess trying to get there, like traffic?
So to be completely honest, we stayed on site at one of the Disney resorts for the sole purpose of the buses. Okay. Because I was like, there is no way I am trying to mess with trying to figure out what the road closures are. And it actually worked out really, really nicely. And if I were to do another Run Disney or make a recommendation to your listeners, of course, I would say it is so much easier to stay on site. So we got up around like 3 o'clock every day. And we had the goal to be on the bus by 3:55, which sounds horrible now that I'm saying it out loud. But because we were there at so early, we would get to the race venue at like 4:15-ish. There is a bit of a walk to the start line, but we didn't end up having a problem with timing at all. Granted, we did run these races for fun rather than like racing them. So we didn't do like full warm-ups or anything like that. But we had such great luck with staying on site and just taking the buses that they had for us.
Yeah. So obviously, like my main focus for this event would be like to just have fun, and I think that's the point of it. Do they have like a competitive, like, do they have anything for like the winners or anything there, or?
I know that the first place had like the big banner you run through, and I do think they keep track with for top 3. And they do, of course, take results, and you can look and see how you did. But they don't do like age group awards, and I don't even think they did like an overall award ceremony. I think they might mail the winners something, the top 3 overall. But I mean, I think the main point is to go and have fun. And of course, it's fun to go and give it all you got too. But the main point is the fun. So they don't make a big deal of it.
Yeah, just curious. So how did your 5K go? I believe that was Thursday, I think?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so how did that go, like knowing you had a whole lot to go after that?
I'll start this by saying I'm so grateful for Hannah because I am not as endurance as she is. Like I said, she's the queen and I'm just here. And so when I know that I'm doing tough runs like the next day and prepping for longer runs, I am a big fan of Zone 2. So I train with Tara and I work in Zone 2 miles a lot. And so I said to Hannah, if I'm going to make this, I'm going to have to do these and aim to heart rate and keep my heart rate low. So it was kind of nerve wracking because I'm like, okay, I feel good right now. I want to make sure that I'm feeling good in a couple days, but it was fun. It was having that game plan of just, okay, if I catch myself going up, I need to back off a little bit, and not having the pressure of time really helped too.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And then so you covered pacing strategies. What about like for shoes and stuff too? Did you wear the same pair of shoes throughout, or did you like change them up for runs?
I wore my trainers the first 3 days, and then I did wear my marathon race shoes on the marathon day because I told us that like, oh, maybe we'll pick up the pace a little bit. And we ended up staying in Zone 2, but that's what I mostly just stayed in my trainers because we took them as training fun miles.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And then how did the 10K go for you for Friday?
10K was fun. Gosh, on the 5K, we ended up like not stopping at any characters because since we spent so much time in the park, there weren't very many I think there were only 2 character stops. So when we ran the 10K and we ran through the boardwalk, I had never seen that area of Disney before at all. So I've been going to Disney since I was like, we used to go all the time as a kid. And I say all the time, but we went like once a year in middle school and things like that. And so to go and run in a place, the boardwalk that I had never seen before was really cool. But that's also where we got our first character stop, which was Goofy. And so that was fun too. And that kind of really was like, okay, here we are. This is kind of where things are going to start getting a little more magical.
Yeah, no, that's great. So I very similarly, I used to go to Disney like once a year with my family, but I also haven't gone back in like 15, 20 years. So I'd be amazed to see like how much has changed since then. But
it's changed a lot, but a lot of good too.
Yeah. With the characters showing up too, do they have like special outfits too? Like, is it like running version Goofy, or like, is there any like tweaks to the costumes?
Yeah. So actually it's really interesting because, I don't do Run Disney events very often, but there's people that really go and love and do all of them. Yeah. So one thing I learned is that they bring out different characters and different character outfits than what you would usually see. So that way the people that go all the time get something different. So when we saw like the characters that we saw during the 5K were like the 3 Caballeros, but without Donald. I don't know what their names are. It was the 2 of them just without Donald, and like Thumper from Bambi. And, you wouldn't normally think to see like Thumper because it's a cute character, but very random. Yes. But when we saw Goofy in the 10K, he was wearing like a white suit. And I was like, oh, that's nice. But like a dress up suit, not like a track suit. So yeah, there were lots and lots of unique characters and unique outfits. I don't even know if I could name all of them.
Yeah, no, that's fun. And then You said, going through the course, going through the parking lot. I'm assuming for the highway itself, like it was closed down or like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So
Mhm.
you felt safe the entire time for that too.
Yeah, absolutely. The course marking, like, I would be impressed if somebody got lost.
Mm.
Truly, it is so easy to follow. They have things barricaded very well. I have no sense of direction, none. And I didn't feel for 1 second throughout all 4 days that I didn't know where I was going.
Good. And then we talked
Mhm.
about like the cap, the fact that it sells out. Like how many, I guess if you were to guess, like how full is this event? Like how many people are there?
I didn't look at results, but I do know one in the past, it was closer to like 16,000. And I think marathon weekend might be a little, if I had to make a ballpark guess, it would be 20,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's insane to think of. Yeah.
And it sells out in like, half an hour.
Right, right. No, that makes sense. And then how did your half marathon go? So second to last day.
Yeah, so the half marathon was interesting. It was the only day that it rained.
Okay.
Every other day was like kind of chilly, but perfect running weather, like 38 degrees at the start, which is just amazing. This day it rained and stopped right before we went, which you're like, oh, how awesome is that it stopped raining? And then you're like, wait, now it's crazy humid because we're in Florida.
Yeah,
So it was,
thank you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the other days we were very, very cold. And on that day, it was like totally different vibes. That one was a little interesting because like I said, we started in Epcot, we ran through the World Showcase, but on the way to Magic Kingdom, they took us on the highway through some portions where they were doing a lot of construction. And so there were a lot of like potholes. And of course, they had tons and tons of cones up so that you weren't falling in the potholes or anything like that, because it's Disney. They don't want you to hurt yourself. They want you to go and tell all your friends that you had a great time. But it was kind of interesting because it was not scenic, at least in those parts. You're like, I'm kind of surprised Disney wanted us to see all of this, but it was, so we went Epcot, there was that. We went kind of on this back path through, like by some kind of lake or so. It's a path I've never seen before. So it was good to see, again, someplace I'd never seen, even though I've been going to Disney forever. And on the way there, they actually had Jack Skellington, who I was not expecting to see at all, but that was very, very exciting.
Yeah.
So we had to stop and get a picture with him on the way to Magic Kingdom. And when you go in Magic Kingdom, you make the turn on Main Street and there's just the castle. Yeah. And you're looking at this castle that, of course, is lit up so beautifully. And there's so many people lined up on Main Street, all yelling at you. And that is just such a wonderful time.
Yeah.
And that's really special.
It's funny you talk about the construction workers. I can only imagine like Disney being like, "Yeah, we'll pay you an extra like $2 an hour if you all wear like Mickey Mouse ears or something."
Oh, right, yeah. I didn't see any, but I will say it was dark, so I'm not going to say it didn't happen.
Yeah, and that's another point too with it being so dark. Like, what did they use? Again, it's been a long time since I've been to Disney. Is it all just like the overhead lighting, the lamps, or like how did they light the whole course?
Oh, there were parts of the course that just were not lit up, really.
Like headlamps?
No, we didn't. No, when you're in the parks, they have the parks lit up a bit,
right?
But on the highway, I guess they did have the highway lights and things like that. Some of the darker areas, I guess they have lights. That's a great question. I didn't look for those, but they did have some lights along the side of the path so you could see. But I would say, like, if you're somebody who's used to running only in the afternoon when it's light out, it could be kind of a little jarring, like, oh, I gotta watch my step here. So I didn't for once though think that I couldn't see my feet or anything like that. I didn't find the light really harsh either. So we're gonna say I think it was lights kind of on the ground, but along the side of the path.
Okay, nice. Yeah, and
the back spots on the highway is the overhead stuff.
That makes sense. Yeah, I personally like running in the dark too because I'm very slow. But when I'm in the dark, it's like I feel like I'm faster. So that's always a good time.
Yeah, I love that.
And then what were some other characters that like you love so much that you chose to stop for? And is there like a line to stop and take pictures with the characters with, the thousands of people running?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's one thing that I'd recommend about Run Disney too, is when you sign up, you can submit a proof of time. And so it's a good idea too, because obviously, you submit a time, you're going to be in the first half of the people that go. So when you go and there is a character, depending on when you start, there is a line to go see them. Now the lines are shorter for us as we're getting further into the race because Hannah and I both run long distances. So, some people are walking, and that's great. I love that Run Disney brings in so many people. But the further you are into the course, the shorter the lines. But for some of them, you do have to wait a minute or two to get in line. One thing they do that I really like is when you go and you take a picture with a character, when you go and take a picture with a character on a park day, you stop and give you a hug, and they take their time with you. And Run Disney is not like that. Like you run in, you smile, you say cheese, and then you are back on that course, and they don't waste any time, and they'll hurry you up too. And they have like 2 or 3 cast members at each character saying, give me your phone, we got to get ready to go. And so there might be a line, but that line is moving. And I really like that about them.
Yeah, that's fantastic, because I don't mind. I think stopping and taking pictures with characters is like a big point of like going to that's really exciting. But if it slows it down too much, it's like, oh, I like this character, but do I want to wait,
Yeah, exactly.
For this, but that's good. And it makes sense that Disney is like super on top of that, super efficient. So that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And then how about the marathon?
The marathon, I thought I was terrified for the marathon, to be honest, because again, Hannah is so phenomenal at distance. And I was like, I'm about to slow this girl down. But we had so much fun. We took the first half very conservatively. And like with the half, it started in Epcot, going through the World Showcase. And there were a couple characters. Actually, it was very, very funny. We were running, and at the beginning, we'd say each day, like, okay, if we see a bunch of characters, who are we stopping for? Right. And she was like, oh, we got to get a picture with Ariel if we see one. And like literally not even a quarter mile later was Ariel just like standing right there. And I was like, that is amazing and hilarious.
Yeah.
But we started through Epcot, went some back ways to Magic Kingdom. We ran towards the castle again. It was the same exact setup as the day before. So, it's a little bit more magical on day 1 than day 2, but it was still phenomenal. Ran through Magic Kingdom. We went on the highways again, and we were at Animal Kingdom. And one thing that I didn't know about the marathon day that Disney does is Disney will pick a couple of rides, maybe 1 or 2 or 3, and they will open them really early so that if you are mid-marathon, you can go hop on that ride. And actually, Expedition Everest was open. Okay. And we actually didn't ride it, and it's entirely my fault because going backwards makes me nauseous. And it was at like mile 14 of the race, and I was like, I can't
play with that. Yeah,
exactly. But the marathon was on the last day that Dino Land USA is open forever. It has now been flattened, but they had the like Triceratops spin open, and they were like waving everybody. Everyone wave goodbye to Dino Land. It's all gone. And they had that open. I was like, Hannah, we got to go do that. And she was like, okay. She's so go with the flow. She's so amazing. But we did. We went on a ride mid-marathon, and you can tell by how much I'm smiling. Like, you don't get to say that every day, and it's just so fun. But I didn't know. I had no idea that they purposefully opened rides for marathoners early, and I think that is so cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so fun. And then we did more highways. When we went through Typhoon Lagoon, I was a little surprised that they didn't bring us like through Typhoon Lagoon like we did with the other parks, but they did have us kind of run a rectangle around it. But you know what? It was one of those things where a lot of people were complaining about it, but they had so many like volunteers passing out waters and jelly beans and cheering on people that, it was what you made of it. And we made it fun. It was a beautiful day. So, and they had, a lot going on there before our way to Hollywood Studios. So the marathon day was also the day where, in my opinion, they brought out the big guns with the characters, because we got Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse the day before, but that day they had Frozone, and who doesn't like Frozone,
Yeah.
There was Frozen.
Super Suit.
Exactly. And that's what we said when we saw him.
Yeah.
Frozen and Lilo and Stitch. And there was one portion, I don't recall where on the course it was. It's all a blur, to be honest. But they had like smoke machines going and they were playing really dramatic Star Wars music. So they had Chewbacca and stormtroopers, and I think it was Boba Fett. It might not have been Boba Fett. It wasn't Mando. I know that. And they just had so many things out, and it was so fun. They even had Olaf towards the finish too. Nice. So that was great fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, finished in Epcot just like the other days.
Yeah. So how common do you think it was for like people to ride the rides? Because obviously you can hurry along people for character pictures. You can't really hurry the ride that much safely, I imagine. So what was the line like for those rides?
So Everest, to be honest, like I said earlier, and I don't mean this to come off kind of persnickety, and I apologize if it does, but given that we kind of run more and a lot of people, the whole course itself got less crowded the further that we were into the course. That's what I'm trying to say.
Gotcha.
And so Everest was at mile like 14 or 15. So at that point, there wasn't very many people there anyways. So when we were running by, there were empty seats on those things. And actually, we didn't even know the Triceratops spin was open until I saw it going. And I looked at the staff member and I said, "Is that open?" And they said yes. And so we ran right up and we waited probably 2 minutes for it to go. So at the point that we were, there were not very many people. But I imagine that people who were there kind of, we did end up running the whole time, even with our stops. Even, I hope that makes sense. I hope that's right. But I know that if there were people who were behind us that were there for more fun than us, than trying to log some training miles mid character or with some character stops, I imagine they got pretty busy.
Yeah. And just to put it into perspective too, because I know that you are significantly faster than I am, even if it is.
No, it's not that. No.
So like how fast did you finish like the marathon and all that?
Oh no, we were maybe mid 9-minute miles, things like that.
Yeah, it's still probably faster than I would do it, but
no. And I hope that doesn't come out that way. I just mean like, one thing that I do really like about Run Disney is that it does bring in so many different types of athletes. And for a lot of people, it is their first event ever. And there's a lot of people that go and walk, and it's awesome because it encourages people to do that. And I really hope that I didn't come out like very oh, we got ahead of everybody. But no, it's just because we were running, and we maybe didn't stop at as many character stops too. Like we'd kind of run by and be like, okay, do we want a picture with Tarzan? Yeah, okay, let's go, Whereas some people, they make it the point to go and stop at every single one. And we were not doing that. We were
just to put it in perspective, because like you were going slow, but like your slow is still relatively decent.
No, oh goodness. I hope that doesn't come off that way.
No.
We were running the whole time. We were running, just taking stops along the way.
And speaking of it being like available or like doable for everybody, do you know what the time like cutoff is for the marathon? Because I know that's something that intimidates a lot of people as events get longer.
Yeah, I think it is. I think I read this somewhere. It is 17:55-minute mile pace.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So when you think about it, you're like, oh, okay, like that's pretty doable. But where it catches a lot of people off guard is that 17:55 is with the character stops,
Yeah.
So, when you're stopping at characters, if you're catching up too much time, you got to really be careful and say, oh, am I making it? Can I wait in this line, or am I not going to hit that time? I think it's 17:55 per mile, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah. And do you know what, because it's got to be tough for them too, of like most magical event on the planet, this and that, but also we have to kick you off if you're too slow. Do you know how? I know Speedy Sarah didn't get to see it. But...
No. I'm so sorry.
No. Do you know how they go about that though? Do they just like have a little car that you pop in, or?
Yeah. So I was so sad because we went to Hollywood Studios after the marathon, and we did see somebody get pulled off the course, and it looked like they had a golf cart, and they'd say, all right, buddy, you got to hop on the golf cart. It's time to go.
Okay.
At that point, though, it stunk because he was like a mile away from the finish. I'm like, oh, come on. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you think at a certain point they just let him go. But I mean, you can't do it for everything.
Yeah, I'm currently training for the New Jersey Spartan Ultra because I've never done Spartan Ultra before, and I'm very nervous about it.
No, you got it. You got it.
We will.
You totally got it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of elevation, but my coaches make me do that all the time now. So
right.
And then, not to ruin the magic too much of the event, but how much did this cost you? Because Disney.
Oh my gosh. I hope my mom isn't listening to this. So I've had some friends ask me, would you do this again? And I think my answer is no, based on the price tag alone. For Dopey, it was $688 for all 4 days of running. Yeah, I will not be there next year. It was more than I am so embarrassed to say that that's how much I spent on this darn race. And I am not embarrassed to say that I probably won't do it again. But it was pretty expensive.
Yeah, it's multiple races, but even still, I did look at the website, and it looks like it costs $717 to register for each one individually. But as you said, the Dopey Challenge is $688, so you save a whopping $29. How kind of
Woohoo! I'm so grateful.
That's crazy, but like it seems like an incredible experience. They put everything into it, as they should. It's costing that much money. What were the medals like too? Because I'm a big fan of medals. That's really what got me into OCR back in the day.
Yeah. So if you like medals and don't like having money, then you need to do the Dopey Challenge because the medals were really cool. Actually, I was very like, even on the day of the 5K, that thing is a rock. Yeah. Every single one of them has some kind of movement on them. So like, I think the day on the 10K, it was Chip and Dale themed. So you can like slide Chip and Dale back and forth on the medal. And for the 5K and the half marathon, they had springs on them so you can fidget with them. The Dopey medal is huge, and you could like twist it so that it's two medals in one. Oh. Yes. There are people that go enjoy the parks after the runs who wear all of the medals, and I don't know how they did that without immense pain, to be honest, because those things are heavy. They are sturdy. They are good medals.
Yeah. And then going back to the price too, something that I was maybe too optimistic about, which is rare for me. I had hoped that the cost of doing the Dopey Challenge also got you into the parks too, but it didn't look like that's the case.
It does not. Yep, it does not. I think at one point they did used to do it, but nope, it does not get you in the parks either. No.
Did you happen to did you pay extra and like spend some time in the parks too, or were you just solely focused? Like, what else did you do for your downtime there?
We did go to all 4 parks on the 4 days that we did the events. Nice. So it was kind of intense for an endurance challenge because we were running in the morning and then, okay, we're going to Magic Kingdom today. Right. But we went to all the parks. And so what we'd do is we'd run the event, hop on a bus, take a nap, go until nighttime, and then come back. So I think I slept pretty much the entire day after the marathon.
I bet. Yeah. And how would you rank the parks? I'm sure that's pretty difficult to do because each one has their pros and cons. But to you, like, what were your favorite parks, especially since so much has changed since I've been there last time?
Yeah. So actually, I was really surprised. So one park that I didn't like when I was a kid was Hollywood Studios. I'm not really big on rides, so Tower of Terror, I'm like, no, thank you.
Oh yeah, no, I got some trauma there. That's
so I haven't been to Hollywood Studios in years and years and years, and that ended up being our best park day. It was also the only park day where nothing broke down. All the other days, stuff broke down or things didn't happen. So that was my first time doing all the Star Wars stuff, and the Rise of Resistance thing was so cool. I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Hollywood Studios was the best day, but my favorite park is Epcot. I love that there's just so much to do at Epcot, but Test Track was closed, which is my favorite ride.
I remember that one. Yeah.
So yeah, it was closed, I was like, oh, so that knocked it down a little bit, but Epcot's my usual favorite. Right now, I think I'd put Hollywood Studios in second place, and then Magic Kingdom, and then Animal Kingdom in last place.
Okay, that's fair. What I'm trying to. Is Harry Potter World still like a thing there too? Which one is that in?
That's at Universal.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't show how long it's been for me. Okay.
That's all right.
Star Wars sounds like absolutely incredible though. Like I've seen so many cool videos, and my grandfather's the one that got me into Star Wars, and he's the one that used to bring me to the parks back then. So I'd love to take him back there sometime. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, he would probably love it a whole lot.
I bet. Yeah. So who would you recommend this challenge to?
I would recommend this challenge to anybody that really likes Disney and likes to go and do crazy things with active friends. Like for this, again, like Hannah and I were not trying to break any records or anything, but we had such a blast going. It's not a very competitive event. So if you're going to be competitive, Disney's probably not for you. But if you're looking for something that keeps you very, very active, but also you can kind of giggle and skip your way through and laugh and do a ride mid-marathon, then that's who I would recommend that to.
Yeah. And what is there anything that we didn't cover that you'd give for like advice for someone taking this on for their first time too?
Yes. I guess the big thing is go in with no time goals, go for fun, and do it with other people. If I didn't run it with Hannah Franciosa, like I said, I don't think I would have had the same experience. I had so much fun because we did it together. Yeah. And, to go and do it solo, there's people that do it and love that too. But I really think that this event is geared for the togetherness and the friends and doing crazy things with amazing people.
Yeah, no, that's all. I'll have to find my own version of a Hannah then.
Absolutely. Everybody should have a Hannah.
I love it. And then what else do you have personally planned for the rest of the year for races and stuff? You said you focused on marathons and everything. What's on your schedule?
To be honest, not a lot. I want to get some of my road times down. And so that's what I'm hoping to do, some shorter distances in the spring. And then for the fall, no pressure. I don't know yet. I might do another marathon or I might do some shorter stuff. Either way, I think I'm glad to take a marathon break and just kind of stay local for some races for a little bit.
That's fair. How you said you slept for a day after the event. I know what that's like doing world stuff with Smother and stuff like that. But how beat up did you feel after? Like how long did recovery take for that?
Yeah, so actually it wasn't that bad because again, we went in with the race plan of if something doesn't feel right, but just back off. One thing that was really important while we were at the parks too is making sure that we were still eating enough and hydrating a lot. So because we went kind of and did like training miles and didn't worry about pace and things, it was not a similar recovery period from my previous. So I ran a marathon back in October, and my recovery between October and this was pretty bad. Like I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this because I felt like I had some difficulties with my calves and stuff, but I actually went on a run today and already felt great, which is kind of unheard of for me. So it's just really important, I guess, going back to if I have any things to recommend for listeners who are interested in this, is keep up your nutrition, even though you're going all day, every day at the parks and running, and you'll be okay. Yeah. I did take a week off too because, I didn't want to test anything.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right because all that together is very much an ultra marathon with like some brief time in between for your body to be like, are we recovering? No? Okay, let's get back up. So that's going to be rough. And where can people follow you on social media and see what you're up to?
Yeah, I am only on Instagram right now at SJ Hetzel. I'm SJ Hetzel on Instagram. That's it.
Perfect. All right. Well, Sarah, it was a pleasure talking to you. Congratulations.
Yes, great to see you. Thank you.
And
thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for thinking of me.
Welcome back.
Thank you to Sarah Hetzel. I don't think anyone is confused and thinks that you were bragging about your speed, but I appreciate coming on as a guest. For related episodes, episode 158 was the Disney Dopey Challenge with Mark Duplessis. That was a very long time ago, so I was excited to do it again because I don't even remember how that one was, but it must have been good to talk to Mark. And then episode 248, which was OCR World Championships 15K with Elites, and that was the first and only time previous to this that we had Sarah Hetzel on the show.
Subscribe and follow wherever you get your podcasts. We are obviously Obstacle Running Adventures on all of the podcast players. Also, if you like what you hear, leave us a review on that purple podcast app. We haven't had one in a long time. Follow us on social media. We are on Facebook and Instagram.
Yep, you can support us financially over on patreon.com. I actually just spent a few $100s on a new microphone, so it won't sound this bad anymore, hopefully. And you can help us over there. And a reminder to join on the website and not on the app, since Apple will charge you some additional fees, which is no fun. Coming up next, not entirely sure. I have a few ideas. A few people have reached out to me, which is exciting. Going to figure that out and have some time to figure that out.
Mike, you've got a joke and I've got a quote.
Perfect. So my joke is, a priest, a pastor, and a rabbit entered a clinic to donate blood. The nurse asked the rabbit, "What is your blood type?" "I'm probably a typo," says the rabbit.
That's very funny. My quote is from Ralph Waldo Emerson. He said, "Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail."
Perfect. All right, well, that just about wraps it up. My name's Michael Stefano.
And my name's Caitlin Ritter.
And we'll talk to you next weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you're feeling motivated, inspired,
And ready to take on your next race or training run.
If you've enjoyed this week's episode, leave us a review
and share it with your fellow adventurous friends.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Obstacle Running Adventures.
Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Join us every week for more news,
Stories and interviews from the community.
Our intro song was Streaker by Straight Up.
And our outro music is Iron Paw by The Best.
Is my thing... Oh!
Hello.
Let's see, is this going to work? I haven't used Zoom on this computer before. Sorry.
That's okay. I can definitely hear you. I'm getting like a black screen.
Weird. Okay, I just tested it to see if it was working.
It's like, it's weird because usually I just see like initials if it's not connected, but a black screen I've never seen before. Yeah, no problem. You did great. I also should have asked this too, because I know that you're into Kingdom Hearts. And
yes.
I played the first one, was like halfway through the second one, and then my PS2 got stolen, so I have to go back to it time. Yeah. But what are your favorite Disney like worlds in those games too? Because I know that some of those are like really great too, and people have their
yes. I really liked, so in Kingdom Hearts 1, my favorite Disney world is probably Neverland.
Okay.
Probably.
Yep. Remember that one.
Neverland. Kingdom Hearts 2, my favorite Disney world is probably, oh goodness, I wasn't prepared for this question. That's okay.
This will be all post-credit anyway.
Oh, perfect. Goodness gracious. Maybe the only thing coming to my mind is 100 Acre Wood, but that is not my favorite worlds. I really, my favorite levels in those games aren't the Disney ones. I love that there's Disney characters, but it's not. Actually, no, Kingdom Hearts 2, it's Mickey's castle. That's what it is. And Kingdom Hearts 3 was garbage, but it's fine. My favorite world in
I remember reaching out to you about that too. I think because I heard it was real bad, and I know how excited you were about it. And yeah, I know a lot of people were disappointed about it.
Yeah. Today is its 6-year anniversary, actually, if that's
crazy.
Yeah, I know. But that one is probably the Kingdom of Corona, Tangled world for that. The mainline games. I won't go into the other games because there's many of them.
That's so overwhelming to me. Like, let me say, Dream Drop Distance.
Yep.
I Sleep. I've heard of them. And then there's like 22.5, whatever.
I hope people don't think that I said that I'm fast because I didn't say that. Oh no.
You're good. I'm relative. Everything's relative, right? Like I'm probably fast to a turtle, maybe. Like that's
not
true. A bigger fish, you know what I mean?